Welcome to EP Daily. Today on the show, we've got a tiny look at Ant-Man in the rundown.
Plus, we race to the edge with a review of the new Dragon series on Netflix.
Hold your ground and fire back!
Fire back where? We can't see it.
And then Scott gets an early look at the new Xbox game, ReCore. Also coming up, we head to the distant future with Horizon Zero Dawn. Marissa and I get up to speed on Quantum Rush Champions and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest on everything cool every single day. Now, there are all kinds of shows, those without the rundown and those with the rundown. Guess which one we are? It looks like Marvel and now EP Daily may have spoiled a cameo in Ant-Man. A new Spanish language trailer for the superhero adventure has surfaced featuring a brief shot of, spoiler, Captain America's Anthony Mackie as Falcon. This is the first indication that his character will appear in the film.
I'm not dead yet!
Revealing that he'll have a cameo isn't too big a spoiler, given that all the Marvel movies take place in the same universe and different characters pop up all the time. But still, it would have been nice to be surprised in the theater. There's always a chance that other familiar faces will appear in the film, so hopefully there will still be some new things to discover by the time it hits theaters on July 17th. The makers of Dragon Age Inquisition are leaving behind last-gen gamers. All future DLC for the game will only be available on the PC, PS4, and Xbox One, which means players who just have a PS3 or 360 are out of luck. This isn't the first time last-gen gamers have been left behind by Dragon Age Inquisition. The game's previous DLC packs were delayed on the older consoles, but were eventually released after much complaining by fans. Electronic Arts hasn't abandoned last-gen owners completely. Anyone who upgrades to the newer versions of the game will be able to transfer their progress using the new Save Importer feature. But you'll first have to invest in a new system. Some big stories, even if one is about a tiny superhero in today's rundown. Here's my pal Scott Jones to talk about them with me. Big spoiler alert, I have to keep saying this just in case you tuned out for a second here. Falcon is going to be in Ant-Man, which I was kind of shocked that that's appeared in a trailer already, even if it wasn't an English trailer.
You know, somehow these leaks we get almost every day. I mean, I know the internet's at a different state than it was. Lots more information is changing hands every day. Lots more people are out there just doing evil things on the internet.
I mean, we talk about this on the show all the time. There is a kind of, and it kind of runs contrary to what we do, which is provide you guys information about stuff that's coming up. But sometimes you just got to close your eyes and ears and try to tune out a little bit so you don't get all of this stuff spoiled.
What does it change to not know that Anthony Mackie's character is in the Ant-Man? Who cares?
I think what it does on the marketing side of things, because I think it might show that there's a little nervousness around Ant-Man compared to the enormity of the Avengers, is that they want to show Avengers right beside their little tiny superhero. All right, well now, something that might not be on the internet for downloading DLC is your PS3 and 360 for Dragon Age Inquisition. I feel like this is another move that underlines it's time.
Yeah, I mean, I think game makers just have to draw a line in the sand and say, we're not going to go back across that line anymore. And so here we see BioWare drawing that line and making a choice. And, I'm sorry if you have the last-gen consoles, but it's been 2 years. It's time to get the new consoles.
Yes.
Like they're pretty expensive. I mean, even for TV hosts, they're expensive. But you have to find a way to save the money and get the PS4 or the Xbox One and commit to that new console. And I think this is the time. And I know you guys love Dragon Age Inquisition. I love Dragon Age. You love Dragon Age. We all do.
Yeah.
And if you're playing it, you got to play it on the best possible machine.
Yeah, it's much better on the new machines. Also, something that's new in this equation now is Xbox One's backwards compatibility. Of course, the Wii U is already backwards compatible, so you're already getting a Wii when you buy a Wii U, and now you're getting a 360 when you buy an Xbox One.
What about the Ant-Man game is compatible with the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox? We'll go back, because he's a small man. Let's go back to the small machines.
You're blowing my mind.
I am.
Something else that blew my mind, maybe, is our review of Dragon's Race to the Edge on Netflix. Take a look.
Use your dragons as extra protection from the wind!
Chris and I get the best assignments. We got to see How to Train Your Dragon Part 2, and now we get to watch the Dragon's Race to the Edge Netflix series.
Yeah, well, I mean, we get the best assignments because you assign them.
It's true.
So
I make sure that we get the best assignments.
So we got this one, yeah, because we loved, and if you haven't seen it, please watch How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Watch them
because
both.
They're so good, and the story's wonderful here, and the characters are amazing. They're so exciting, and then I was really excited to jump into this show because it's on Netflix, and I love that it's a Netflix original, and they've been doing so well with these, and you jump into it, and you realize, oh, well, I guess it's not really like the movies because it's not as shiny and
The visuals,
exciting.
are a close approximation, but they're certainly made for television.
Yeah.
But the great news here is that most of the voice cast that you find in both of the films is also reprising they're all reprising their roles.
Hold your ground and fire back!
Fire back where? We can't see it.
And you get a boatload of dragons, and because this is a 13-part half-hour series, you get a lot more detail with the supporting cast, and they go on these grand adventures. It's almost video game-esque in the way that they set it up. They find this dragon eye, this magic telescope thing that projects icons on a wall, and then that allows all of these kids from Burke to go out on these crazy adventures.
Ah, come on. Who would be doing that?
This show is taking place between the two movies, so this is all happening before How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Yep.
And so
everybody's alive.
Everybody's
Spoiler.
alive, and they're also discovering things outside of their city.
Actually, you know what? Take cover!
It's exciting because it's a little Goonie-esque because all the kids are like in this together. It's a band of kids doing all this, and they can do it, and they have these dragons along for the ride, and there's a lot of humor there for sure. The humor just doesn't hit the points I want it to hit. It doesn't hit those marks for me.
Well, you mentioned kids, and I think that's the underlying thing here. It's definitely got layers that adults and more mature fans of the two films and the franchise, because there's going to be a third one in 2018, will enjoy. And it's great to hear all of these familiar voices. But yes, the comedy and a lot of the go-tos are very kid-like.
How about that guy?
I noticed that a lot of conflicts between characters are settled with somebody bashing that other person over the head. There's a lot of bonks.
I don't think that I'm going to keep watching this.
No, you're checking out. You're waiting for the movie.
It's not for me. The movies are definitely for me, but this is for people for sure that go to Netflix. More for kids. I would say like teenage age might enjoy this.
I know what you're saying. It's not as good as the movies, but I love dragons and I love Vikings.
I love dragons and Vikings too, man.
And this is okay. It's not quite Clone Wars. It's not quite Rebels, but it's all right. I'm going to give it a 7.5. How about you?
I'm going to have around a 7 as well.
Okay. Digging that show. Netflix is on a good run there.
Oh, yeah, my friend. And listen, coming up next, we take a closer look at Horizon Zero Dawn after this.
Time to shut you down!
Welcome back to E3 Daily. Hey, Scott Jens, do you have a favorite E3 memory?
Oh, I sure do. Remember when Vic and I got pulled over on the freeway? Oh, no, that's a different E3 memory. You know, the one game that we're still talking about, surprisingly, is Horizon from our old friends at Guerrilla Games. You know, I really like those guys. I'd love to talk to you guys.
Oh, good thing you did.
Oh, I did.
Our stories speak of the ones that came before. The old ones.
I'm here with Mark Norris, senior producer on Horizon Zero Dawn. He, of course, is from Guerrilla Games. That's right. Mark, tell me, what is the backstory here in the game?
Yeah, well, we can't get into too many story elements, but certainly you can see this is a post-apocalyptic world filled with amazing machines that allows you to do some pretty cool tactical and strategic combat. So I think that's kind of the razor statement that we talk about when we talk about Horizon Zero Dawn.
So obviously you're going from hyper-realistic futurescapes, and now you're going to something that's clearly very outdoorsy here. Tell me about that transition.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we've been making Killzone for more than a decade now. And in doing so, there's a lot of grays, there's a lot of industrial. It's still sci-fi, and we still have some sci-fi in our game. But what we really wanted to do is take a look at a different color palette. And that color palette examination also kind of helped drive what kind of game we really wanted to build. So vibrant greens and vibrant blues, well, those are found really beautifully in the open world. And so now we started taking a look at open world games and open world elements. And while there will be interior spaces in Horizon Zero Dawn, a good portion of it will take place in the open world. And that's really important to us because we do want to experiment with this, sort of unique juxtaposition between the silvers and the grays of the machines and the blues and the greens of the vibrant natural world.
Let's backtrack a little bit here and talk about the inspiration for this game. What really drove you guys to make this?
Yeah, this was kind of a long process to get started, right? You have a studio of a lot of people that have been there for a very long time, a decade or more, and they all have ideas. When you go, hey, you can build a brand new IP, everybody goes, I know what I want to do. So we had more than 40 pitches. And it was all the way from racing games to some sort of maze game, and then there was a top-down sort of isometric game. But ultimately, the one that was the most risky and also the most interesting was this idea of a third-person open-world action RPG. It's one of those things that grew organically, but there were a couple of elements that always stayed. And one of those was Aloy, the main character. She has always been there, kind of like from day one.
One of the standout moments when watching the trailer is the way that the camera and the action just zooms in moments of violence. Tell me about the decision to do that, because I love that.
So actually, that was something that's controlled by, and getting into some of the RPG elements that people haven't gotten an opportunity to look at too much, that's actually a player skill. And that player skill is called the precision shot. Surprise, there are RPG elements inside of our action RPG, and that's one of the abilities that you'll be able to buy.
Another great interview from me.
Okay, I'm glad you're very proud of yourself. You know what, though? You're right. It was very good. So let's keep the Scott C. Jones train rolling.
I like that.
You've got another one.
Hey guys, we're talking about ReCore. This is from Armature Studios. That's right. You are the game director, and you're working with Keiji Inafune, and you've also brought in some of the team who worked on the Metroid Prime games. Tell me about this marriage between these two visionaries.
We worked with Inafune-san previously. We had a collaboration when he was still at Capcom, and we were looking for a way to work together again. And he presented an idea to us, which eventually became ReCore, that we worked on together. And we ended up talking to Microsoft about it because we were already in talks with them about doing something. So it was a natural collaboration that came about, and it's been fantastic.
His vision and what you guys do and what you do personally, everything seems to be fitting together and coming together in a very organic way so far.
Yes. Yeah, concept and Inafune-san have the overall direction of the game and kind of the story and characters. And on the Armature side, we really oversee the moment-to-moment gameplay and the mechanics and what you do as a player and how you go through this adventure. So it's really been a great, harmonious relationship.
I think we were all blown away when we saw the trailer for this game, because we're all talking about the Mighty No. 9 right now, and we're Inafune's busy with that. But now here's a new project from him. Where did this come from? What was the original source of the idea?
When Inafune-san came to us, he was talking about what would it be like at what seemed like the end of humanity? What would the world be like? What would the survivors be like? And right now, the main character, Jewel, it appears to her that she might be the last person on this planet. And this planet's been taken over by robotic life, where they really don't want to see humanity coming back. And there's a small band of these robotic characters that actually want to help you, or seem to want to help you along and to bring humanity back, and how that's going to happen. So that was the general idea that he kind of came to us with.
What is it?
I think the most surprising thing when we saw the trailer was how much emotion is packed. It's just a few minutes long, but there's a lot of emotion obviously on display, complex emotions. Tell me about the emotional content here.
Well, what we wanted to do is, you have these companions, or robotic companion in Mac that was shown in the video, and we don't want the player to think that these are just tools, weapons, or just a way to get to another place. We want there to be a real emotional bond between you and your companion. And your companion is actually the core itself. You see the robot destroys itself to protect you in the video. And that's really important, because what we wanted to show is the essence or the soul of the character is that core. And no matter what you put that core into, that character's life will continue. But like in the video, we show that Mac becomes this big, beast-like character. That's a really big part of the game on a very, very, very surface level of it. But the connection you're going to get is that soul lives on. And that's why it was so traumatic for Jewel to see Mac destroy himself, because she didn't know what's going to happen. Is he going to still be alive at that point? And she quickly put him into another frame where he can come back to life, basically. So that's that connection that we really want to continue to develop as we're making the game.
Welcome back, bud.
You know, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but both of those games, Horizon and ReCore, star female protagonists in dystopian worlds, and they're fighting robots.
Oh, right. Okay, so I smell verses.
No, I think that was me. I had a hot dog for breakfast.
Okay, maybe that's what that was. Don't go anywhere because after the break, Vic and I have got a review of Quantum Rush Champions.
EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Asphalt 8 Airborne, which you can play on your Android or iOS device for free right now. Bandai Namco has gone all kinds of crazy with their new game, Space Galaga International Edition. It combines the old classic arcade game, Galaga, which we all had a blast playing, where you could actually get the ship after you shoot down the bug-looking thing. And well, it combines that with an anime called Space Dandy, which is really weird, and I've never seen it, so I'm not commenting on whether or not I like the anime editions, but I will say that there's this crazy in-store free-to-play mechanic. Even though this is a for-purchase game, it's such a convoluted mess with all these crazy menus, but I think most of the currency that you get to buy the stuff in the game is built within the game, so you don't have to actually spend any extra money after you buy the thing. But they've got this whole store mechanic, and basically what you're buying is all kinds of little accoutrements and customizational options for your spacecraft. Then you can go back into the Galaga playing field. I do like that there are boss fights in the game now, and I do like that the bullet hell shooter aspects of the game are fast and furious. It's a good rendition of the Galaga concept that we've seen for years and years. It's a decent game. The mechanics are okay. I kind of wish that it had M5 controls so I could use a controller with it. It's just weird. It's just a weird game, but it's still oddly addicting. I'm going to give Space Galaga International Edition 7.5 out of 10.
Nice choice of pocket there, Victor Lucas. Let's keep it on the sci-fi tip and strap in because we've got a review of Quantum Rush Champions.
I love futuristic racers. I'm a huge Wipeout fan. That's why I was excited to check out Quantum Rush Champions. It's a single-player game only, which is kind of a weird decision.
There are different modes here, and I think the main thing is the career mode that you can play in this one, because that's what's new here, the career mode, but there's really nothing special about it. There's something different that separates it from just the arcade mode, just like single races, and you can pick different ships before you go in, and you have different objectives, like you pick up boxes, or you want to destroy people on the track.
Those are the only really interesting additions to the game, and it kind of brought me back to the Diddy Kong racing days, where they threw in all kinds of weird stuff, but it made that game so much richer and fuller. One of the modes is a courier mode, where you actually have to pick up more boxes along the track than your opponents, and then you also have boss battle modes. It's not just beat the boss, so you got to wipe them out, you got to shoot them. But now let's talk about the problems, because I think the major issue with this game is that the combat is just not enjoyable. The AI, even on the easiest difficulty settings, it finds a way to get the hell out of town really quickly. It's very easy for your opponents to get lost in the environment.
I'm glad you're saying this, because I thought that I was just terrible, because that happens a lot with me when I play video games. I just end up feeling really terrible about myself because I'm terrible. But every time I finished, the game would always tell me, you can do better. Like, you're right, I probably could do better, but I also maybe could have done better if my ship didn't go off the track and then was stuck in some kind of weird animation thing where it definitely was a glitch in the game.
Sometimes you're whipping around these corners super fast, as you want to do in these types of anti-gravity racers, and the track design is just not conducive to fun. I mean, I feel like it's designed well for a different kind of game, maybe an off-road racing type of experience, but for this kind of thing, you want a little bit more precision, and you want to feel like you're banking around the curves, kind of speedboat style.
There are modes where you actually can go faster, but you only go as fast as you can go if you don't hit anything. So I was hitting walls, but not even realizing that I was hitting the walls, because it doesn't seem like it when you're grazing them. But then I would always have to go back to 1, even though my meter had gone up so much, I would have to go back to 0 again.
Don't take the damage mode, which is also a pretty interesting mode.
It is.
I think that this is still a work in progress.
Yes, for sure.
You know, I just wish that they could just embellish it, make it live a little bit better, and be closer to something like Wipeout. What are you going to give Quantum Rush Champions?
I'm sorry, this game is not worth it. It gets a 4.
Yeah, it gets a 5 from me.
Oh no, I promise things will get better, because we've got the Twitter question of the day after this.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to EP Daily. Time now for my favorite part of every episode. It's the Twitter question of the day. Today's question comes from our old friend, K. Scott Woods. He is at K. Scott Woods, just like his name.
Keeps it simple.
Yes, K. Scott Woods says, with Wayward Pines Zoo and the upcoming X-Files, what are your thoughts on the new batch of miniseries / any others you'd like to see? Victor Lucas, what comes to mind for you?
I think that this kind of genre stuff is really taking over on television in some really interesting ways, and it gives us a lot of interesting stuff to talk about and review on the show, so I'm looking forward to that. I've heard good things about Zoo. I heard it's crazy. I interviewed M. Night Shyamalan about Wayward Pines.
Personal friend of yours?
No, but it was a good interview. I enjoyed talking with them, and I'm really looking forward to getting into that series.
There's lots of little things, little shows in between the internet and television that are starting to become interesting. Comedians in cars drinking coffee, that's one Marissa and I have been obsessed with lately. So lots of things coming our way, lots of things to be excited about.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to see where Netflix and Marvel go with their relationship. I love the Daredevil
You want an
run.
Batman show, I know you do.
Well, maybe. Actually, he would be a cool character to put into a show like that. Yeah, but I want to see more Daredevil and more of the Defenders. Absolutely. Good questions. If you've got a question or you want to catch up on the show, go to epn.tv.
How was a baby made, Vic? Maybe you could tell us on the next episode. And listen, on the next episode, we actually have a really great story on Rare. They've got a new game. Actually, they have 2 new games. You're going to see what they are. Thanks for watching, everybody.
We'll see you tomorrow. EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox.
Everything Rare's done has been different, and Rare's always evolved and it's always redefined itself throughout that whole 30-year period, and that's why Rare's still there. But something that's consistent to all of it is they create magical gameplay experiences. So you go play a Rare game, like it feels honed and polished and cared for. Everything Rare makes reflects the people that make it, and that's what makes us special as a studio.